Let's talk about a crisis from January 2026. It was all about an icy island, and it nearly broke the West.
$1.7 trillion. That's what the U.S.-Europe trade relationship is worth every single year.
And then, bam! On January 21st, the European Union just froze the whole thing.
So what caused this massive geopolitical earthquake? Well, it wasn't about tariffs. It was all about Greenland. All right, Section 1. So why Greenland? What makes it worth risking a trillion-dollar relationship?
Well, it really comes down to three things: critical minerals, military positioning, and new Arctic sea routes.
And you have to understand, right now, China basically controls the world's supply of these critical minerals.
And then there's this, America's main missile defense base. The only problem? It's on Danish territory.
Okay, Section 2. So you can see how all this created a perfect storm that pushed NATO right to the brink.
And things escalated fast. In just 2 weeks, the whole alliance was on the verge of collapse.
It all kicked off with this, a direct threat from the U.S. against a fellow NATO member.
And Europe's response was just as blunt. They drew a hard red line right then and there.
And the U.S. didn't just threaten anyone. It targeted its biggest, closest economic partners in Europe.
So the EU didn't just talk, they acted, voting overwhelmingly to hit back where it hurt economically.
So, how did they stop this train wreck? That brings us to Section 3, the Davos Compromise.
They hammered out a deal in Davos. It wasn't pretty, but it was basically a framework for survival.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. Just look at what was demanded versus what was agreed to.
The bottom line, the U.S. wanted total control. Instead, it got a partnership that required everyone to agree.
All right, Section 4. Because while the West was fighting, someone else was watching very, very closely.
China's official response was clever. Notice the phrasing? They offered to work directly with the Arctic peoples.
And they didn't just talk. They immediately offered money and tech for Greenland to develop its own resources. And just like that, China positioned itself as a new partner and proved the Western alliance could crack.
So the biggest takeaway? China got proof that the West is fragile. The real question is, what happens next?